Today I'm going to give you a brief introduction onto how to drive a manual, also known as a stick shift. So over the past at least 20 years, manual cars have been much less used, and they're known, it's almost like considered a dying art now. People consider automatic cars to be easier and just overall better for new drivers. There are people though who still believe that manual cars are safer due to the fact that it makes people familiarize themselves with the car more, as well as stay focused on the road, because you need one hand on the box and then one hand on your wheel, as well as all your feet are occupied with the 3 pedals. There are even businesses around today, such as Haggerty Insurance, that are willing to teach teens how to drive manual cars so that they can maintain classic cars such as this in American culture. These are examples of older and modern manual cars, Corvette and an old 85 Mustang. These are considered somewhat staples in American culture, and it would be a shame if they weren't used anymore. Also, according to a ProQuest article, people describe driving manual as an old sense of enjoyment that no kid should be deprived of. Moving into actually learning, the first thing you want to do is familiarize yourself with all the parts. You want to make sure that you know where your gearbox are. This is the example I have today, as well as your 3 pedals. The one all the way to the right is your gas, the middle is your brake, and the left is your clutch. Also seen up here if you're unable to see. These are the clutches: left, brake, and gas. There are also usually two ways that a stick shift comes. Either they come with the divots like that, where you push straight in, or it's more of a loose, where you just assume where the position is. You also want to make sure you know where your emergency brake is, as keeping your emergency brake up is very useful when driving manual. Another key thing you have to keep track of is your tachometer. The tachometer is the gauge to the left of your speedometer. It is measured in RPMs, or revolutions per minute, and as you can see, it's times 1,000. So anytime you see a number, it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and we'll come back to that later. So once you feel familiar with all the parts that you have, you are ready to get into the actual process of driving. So normally when you drive it, you want to make sure that you first get a feel for all the positions, as in if you were to do this, if this was your gear, you'd want to try out all your reverse, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, as well as find your engagement point on the clutch. The engagement point on the clutch is the point where if you push all the way down to the ground, when you start releasing up, you'll feel a kickback in your foot, as well as the car will start rolling. Once you reach this point, this is the point where you start adding gas, but the important thing is to maintain a balance. For all the amount you take off the clutch, you want to make sure you're adding to the gas as well. This is a key part, as balance is very important in driving a manual car. Another important thing to know is, a common thing to happen with manual cars when you're learning is stalling. Stalling occurs when either the clutch is let up too quickly, which results due to the engine not moving fast enough with the gears itself. This is going to happen where the car will just shut off and probably jerk forward. This is very frustrating for new drivers, I can say firsthand, but normally you get past it and goes away within a couple days. This is so when you keep driving, you want to move to an off-road location when you're first learning, because you want to start on a flat location. If you are on a hill and you are in neutral, which is when you're not engaged in a gear, your car will roll backwards, and that could be very problematic. So you want to make sure you start in a flat area and continue to start driving. Once you have a feel for all your gears, you can actually start moving. Once you move into first, which is again, once you reach the engagement point and you start adding gas, it's the same process for every gear further on, except you want to wait until your tachometer hits about 3 again, which is shown here again. Once you get to 3 or 3,000 RPMs, this is usually a sign that your engine's working a little too hard, as your RPMs do measure how hard your engine is working. So this is important in making sure that you don't overwork the engine and shift at the right time. Although some scenarios in an automatic car may seem simple, these simple things are not as easy in a manual car. For example, when you stop, you have to make sure you have 2 options. You can either hold the clutch down completely to the ground and maintain your gear, Or you can use the clutch down to release back into neutral and wait until you have to re-engage yourself again. This is a skill that's learned very much through practice. It can be learned in less than a day and mastered in a week or two. And once you manage the basics and you learn those, you can move on to more advanced things such as downshifting. Downshifting is the same thing as a normal shift, except instead of moving up a gear, you would move backward, you would move down a gear. This is when you need more power out of your engine, and this is useful in situations such as driving up hills. Another advanced scenario that you may come across is being on a hill. Again, like I said, if you're in neutral, you will roll backwards. So